what's up, and welcome to this episode of EST, the podcast for established church leaders by established church leaders. My name is Josh King. I'm on Twitter as Joe Wiki, and
my name is Sam, and I'm at Sam Rainer. SAMRAINER. Rain-E-R. Not Rainier, not Rainier. Rainer. Rainer.
I'm also on Threads. I'm really digging Threads. I like Threads a little bit more than Twitter. Doesn't have everybody there. I get that, but that's kind of the reason
problem.
I like it. I like
Threads
it.
Threads has two things against it.
What's that?
One, Zuckerberg, and two, there's nobody there.
Yeah, well, I mean, if Musk is on the other side of that equation, I think the Zuckerberg thing kind of balances out. But yeah, there's fewer people, but the fewer people are not the crazies.
Do you choose? If you have to choose, do you choose Musk or Zuckerberg? I go with Musk.
Choose neither. I choose Sam
I'd go
Rainier.
With Musk.
That's who I choose. All right.
Yeah, I kind of had high hopes for Twitter when the ownership changed, and we're still waiting. We're still waiting.
We'll see what happens. All right, Sam, tell them about.
Hey, it's December. Welcome to Christmas time, and
Feliz Navidad.
It's busy, right?
Yeah,
it is crazy busy. It's the chaos of December. If I'm reading my notes right, this episode will hit December 1st. So welcome to busy season, pastors. I hope you are all okay at this point.
Strap in and hold on. We're going.
Yep. And before we get into the episode, we want to thank our sponsor, Church Teams. Church Teams is the go-to company for your church management software needs. What I love about Church Teams is they can scale with your church. So if you're a smaller church, they've got price points just for you. If you're a larger church, they have the full slate of church management software options. And they've got a killer team. This company, Church Teams, has some of the best people to work with. They value service, and they want to do what's best for your church. So whatever your needs are when it comes to church management software, text to church, check-in, scheduling, process management, giving, they have these best-in-class quality features that enable you to get value without compromise, but they do so at a price point and with the service level that is really quite astounding. So the way that you can get connected to Church Teams is through est.church. Go to est.church. They've got a free offer for you there. So it's really a no-risk endeavor. We certainly thank Church Teams for sponsoring the show.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you very much.
We're going to roll into this.
Mm-hmm.
Why is December so busy? Let's just start. I think we all feel it. And it's like, man, is it more events? Is it just more people interaction? What makes December feel so busy?
Well, I mean, it's obviously more events, and it's a very weighty event. So there's so much that goes with it. It's like when you, I don't know. It's just when like you're going to go visit your mother-in-law, and she's great, and you love her, and I love mine. But that visit turns into also dinner. Then also we have to go by and see the thing. And then we also have to stop and get the kids ice cream, right? It's one of those things. It's like it evolves, it grows. And so Christmas and the celebration of the birth of our Savior is something that we want to celebrate. However, it tends to grow, and it doesn't only grow in your church as a church leader. It also grows in your personal life and your sides of the family. If you're a child of a divorced situation or remarriage, you may have 4 Christmases, which is one of the funniest movies ever. And so you have all of these things to go and do. There's sales, there's things, there's events, there's things you just want to do with your family. Then you've got Christmas parties. The kids have Christmas parties. So it really just grew by one event. It's just that one event brought with it 400 events, and you got to make some decisions there.
So I've got a little theory as well here.
Okay.
There are certain times of year that are natural lulls. There are seasons in ministry where you just don't get as much interaction. And I think there's 2 that stand out. The first is the week after Christmas. So that week between Christmas and the New Year tends to be a little quieter. And then around July 4th, generally speaking, when people are at the peak of vacation season. outside of those two time slots, my theory is this: when your people are on vacation, you tend to be busier. So those holiday weekends, when people are off,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they're sitting around, they're talking, some grand theological question comes up at Thanksgiving dinner. We're having a debate about it. Well, what do? We're going to call Sam.
Mm-hmm. Call
Sam,
the pastor, right?
can you explain to us whether supralapsarianism is a genuine theological framework or not? Can you explain this to us?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Which I'm actually kind of glad to field those phone calls, because I'm glad to point people in the right direction with those kinds of questions. But my theory is, outside of a few seasons where vacation means people are really gone, when people are off work, they tend to contact you more. And I think Christmas and Thanksgiving in particular are two of those seasons. Just a thought.
I was actually talking to a person this morning, and the discussion was around whether or not they were going to join our church staff. And her question was, what about the school breaks when there's summer break or Christmas break, that sort of stuff, and the kids are home? Because it's so laid back and there's not a lot going on, would it be okay if, I worked from home? That was kind of the discussion. And I said, listen, on this side of the equation, when everybody else is off, we're not off. We have a lot more to do. And I said, just think about Christmas break. You're just making holiday plans with your family, but you also want to stop at the church and you want to do it. We have to do all that. I said, just because you're off for a week before Christmas doesn't mean we are, because we have Christmas services, Christmas Eve. That's for same thing with Easter, same thing with back to school and summer camps and VBS and all that sort of stuff. I said, it gets pretty busy around here. So I think you're exactly right. I'm also impressed that your members are calling you about Superlapsarian. Most that I will get is, hey, pastor, are Christmas lights evil? And so that's the deepest theological questions I get. But of course, every time they do ask me deep theological questions, I'm like, here's my boy, Sam. Call Sam. He knows stuff.
I had somebody the other day who was asking about the Ordo Salutis, the order of salvation. Does faith precede regeneration, or does regeneration precede faith? It's a really, in super nerdy theological circles, that's a very controversial subject.
It is. Yeah. I had somebody the other day ask me if a certain political candidate was the Antichrist. So it's different. It's different strokes. It's just different wherever you are. And I was like, I don't think so. So yeah. All right.
I've got so many questions now, but we really shouldn't discuss them. This could devolve very quickly.
It could. But the point of the show is what? Navigating through the busyness of December. How to do it? Keep your mind. What do you got?
Yeah. So how do you keep your sanity when December is so busy? I just have to mentally prepare myself that every December is going to be busy, and I have to get myself I have to wrap my whole soul and mind around this idea that I'm going to make this fun. Like, I know it's going to be busy. I know I'm basically not going to get to do the things that I want to do, but that's okay, because I've got that break coming. Now, not every pastor, particularly bivocational pastors, have this luxury. So I do feel for those who can't take a week off after Christmas. But I am really, every year, and my church knows this, the week after Christmas, I'm gone. Like, I am vacationing. I'm with my family. That is unless there is some crazy emergency or something extraordinary, I'm off the field. I'm with my family, and we actually do Christmas after Christmas. So we don't even attempt as a family to do like a normal Christmas. It's just not even something we attempt. My kids don't know any different. That's all they've ever known. So it's not really a sacrifice for them.
It's just a shift.
I get my mind ready, and I aim for that goal of, hey, I'm going to have some family time the week after Christmas.
Yeah.
And I just let it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm the same way. Now, I will admit, in my younger days, this is what made me such a Scrooge. And around Christmases, I just felt like it was driving everything, and I wasn't going to get to do my thing, those sort of things. And the older I get, the more it's like, you just got to prep yourself for these seasons and decide. And it really is that. I have decided this stuff is fun. And there is a funness to it. Now, nobody says you have to be like bouncing off the walls. You can be tired and dragging because you're going from thing to thing to thing. But while you're sitting there and it's at the concert or it's at the presentation or you're at the tree lighting for the city, you're doing all this stuff, have fun with it. It really is fun. There is a redeemable funness to it. There is something good. Some people get really irritated because these people only come on Christmas and Easter and, I've got to do all this work. Also, you just look at it the way Sam looks at it and goes, yeah, but they're here and I get to share the gospel with them. So that's fun. That's good. Kids are fun. Kids are good. I do think that going in, the earlier you can start this with your staff, with your church, with your spouse, I think you're a person too. And you get to say, hey, here's a couple of things. I am going to watch the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. I am going to have time with my family on Christmas morning. Now, that's something we do. Sam has moved the holiday, which is totally fine. But whatever it is, you can go ahead and say, just these two things. The rest of it, we'll just kind of battle it out and we'll do this kind of stuff. This is respectful of my family. This is respectful of me. These are my traditions. I'm a person. You're a person. So we're not gonna conflict those. I find that most people, they either wake up to a reality, oh man, I never even really thought about the idea that you guys don't get to travel on the holidays. You're never with your family. And they're usually like, yeah, that makes sense. Let's try it a different way this year. Or they're just very much like, great, that's a great compromise. In fact, I'm going to release this thing that I'm wanting. So I think if you can just lower your standards a little bit, just say, this is just going to be, I'm going to make sure we have this one weekend instead of every weekend. And you can go ahead and say, it's fun stuff though. It actually is fun. Even if it's like, let's say you're not really into Santa, it's still kind of fun when the kids all light up about Santa and they're at the parade and stuff like that. That's cool.
Yeah, we killed Santa at my house. My
I hope
kids
no
are the
children are
ones.
listening.
My kids are the ones that go around telling all the other kids, Santa's not real.
Mine did that too. Yeah, we don't do Santa. We always said Santa's at Nana's house because Nana really likes Santa. He doesn't come to our house because I bought these things. So
Yeah, both me and my wife are a bit curmudgeonly about this. We just don't like lying to our children about some mythical creature. So,
you
we
just
just
drew
made the
some
decision
lines in the sand. Yeah.
we just made some decisions to be honest with our children about, things. But
My goodness. My goodness.
I actually don't really care that deeply about it. I just like stirring things up.
Yeah, right, of course.
I think the non-negotiables are important. I think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, every Thanksgiving, I'm going to watch the Cowboys. This is just what I'm going to do. And, around that, those few hours, the answer is no. Like, I'm just not going to,
Right.
to give on that. And if you can set up some of those parameters for yourself, that's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that just making it fun is also important because a lot of times the people want your time and they want your time because it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good thing. They desire for their pastor to be at a certain event. That's not a bad thing. I'll just say this as well, and I hope this comes across the right way, but even if it doesn't, I'll say it. A lot of times churches staff on these tend to be mid-sized larger churches that have a team, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 people at a giant church. A lot of times the larger the church, the more you try to structure your ministry around the staff instead of your people.
The people.
And so I do see a lot of larger churches that basically say, and they don't quite say it like this, but what they are saying is, we can't really find volunteers to run our operations. So we just don't want to we don't want to burden our staff. So we're just canceling. And I think that's a mistake. I think it's a very big mistake to structure your holiday schedule around your staff instead of your church. And I think you have to watch that. I think you have to be very careful about it. Now, obviously, if you've got 22 different productions that you're doing in December, and you want to do away with a couple of them, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I have seen churches pull too far back in December.
I agree.
And I think that is a really big mistake because that's when a lot of people are most receptive. That's when the community is planning on showing up.
Yeah.
Don't pull back too far. If you've got a whole bunch of stuff going on and need to simplify, hey, I get it. I've been through that as well. We actually used to have a Christmas production, a children's choir production, and a Christmas Eve service. And we said, no, wait a minute. Let's move the children's production to Sunday, a Sunday morning. Everyone's going to want to be there anyway
Yeah.
at that time.
Right.
And let's
Hmm.
combine our Christmas Eve service with our giant Christmas production. And let's make our big thing
Perfect.
Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And so we did simplify there, but everyone was agreeable. Like it was something that everyone said, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But it wasn't something our people felt. You know,
Hmm.
you've gone too far when your people are, when they feel like their church is not doing enough around the holidays.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there are strategies in between. We went crazy and we killed everything. There's stuff in between. I don't really understand why you can't do some things. I mean, I am a very simple person, especially as a simple pastor. We've done things like Coco and Carol's Sunday. So it's a themed out Sunday. You walk in and there's cider and cocoa and cookies, and the whole place smells great, and the trees are all lit, and we're going to sing carols together, just some of the Christmas songs that you know. And that's what that Sunday was. That's it. There's also this thing, when I was in Texas and when I was in Saxe, our children's minister developed a no rehearsal play, and it's amazing. It's something I really want to encourage you to check out. Any size church can do it, and it's literally one of a kid walks in and they get a prop, and there's hundreds of props. If you have 4,000 kids that Sunday, or if you have 3 kids that Sunday, the play's still going to work fine. And so it's a great thing. We can tell more later, but yeah, retheme out things, simplify things, put it in between. Say, we're going to respect our. One of the Sundays we do is called family service, and that's where we don't offer childcare. It's everybody in the sanctuary together. Now, that is based primarily on all the volunteers are gone, but it's also not the worst thing in the world to have a service with infants in there and toddlers in there, and the parents don't have to come if they don't want to, but we are communicating. We don't mind them being in here. And so one Sunday a year, and that's usually the one like what you were talking about, like after Christmas or like on it's a very low attendance sort of every year. It's that way. So we just have a one simplified family service, and those work fine. I think what bothers me, Sam, is there's these ideas sometimes around the holidays where it's like, well, nobody's going to show up in the larger churches, and you actually push them on that and go, well, how many would show up? Only like 500 or 600. Okay, that's people. All right. I don't care if it's only 30 people would show up, or if it's only 6 of you to get together and celebrate Christ on a Sunday. I just have never understood that threshold that says we need at least 1,000 filling up 3 services before we're even going to bother to show up here and do this. No, man, come on. Just combine some services or do what you got to do, but you're still going to have church on that Sunday. So, I kind of think there's always a way in between.
Yeah, I do as well. I think generally December should be busy. I think if it's not busy for you as a pastor or a church leader, you've done something wrong. I mean, it should be busy season. And in the same way, you should be busy around vacation Bible school season, right? I mean, like that's and obviously you don't want to always be busy.
Mm-hmm.
That leads to burnout. But there are seasons in the life of the church that are just a heavier season.
Can I?
By the way, if you work retail, let me
Mm-hmm.
just put this out there. Pastors that are complaining about being busy, go work retail for December and then come back and tell
Mm-hmm.
me, who's busier.
Yeah.
I will tell you right now, the people working retail are far busier than you are.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a valid point. I think the pushback would be that even retail is waking up to the reality that there's something wrong about pulling people away from their families during the holidays. And
Completely agree. And Walmart recently said that they were not going to be open on Thanksgiving, if I read that report.
I think that's correct. Yeah. So there's a balance.
And I agree with that.
Yeah.
But it's still busy. If you're in retail, it's still the busiest season.
Yes. Oh man, you just made me lose a thought there. I've got an idea here that I think could help. Maybe, seeing how it's already December, this won't necessarily work as well. But here's something that you could think about next year. Some churches, just because of their history and because of their values and their way, they just go all out on, say, Christmas Eve. That's just what they do. Other churches have like these great like drive-through nativities that they do. Other churches do this community-wide Thanksgiving to feed the homeless, right? And they set up tables all through downtown. Here's my curiosity, church leader. Why can't y'all all do that together? So yeah, I see some churches sometimes that are doing, we're all going to do our own Thanksgiving lunch. Or You could all join First Methodist over there and do the lunch together. Or you could all participate in the Christmas Eve service at whoever's. There's just different churches that kind of own different events. The church I'm at now kind of own around Easter. Around here, we just do Easter bigger than other people. But there's another church that does Christmas Eve bigger than us. And we've always said, we like that church. Go to their Christmas Eve and we'll see you Sunday. And that really works for us. It's like we're not competing against them. We're celebrating the same thing. I'm not saying everything. Obviously, we all do our own Sunday morning services. So I'm not advocating for us all to just mold into one big giant church. But when it comes to these giant events that seem to just really suck the life out of your resources, your staff, your volunteers, what if you just said, this is the one we own, you own that one, and we'll just send people to both and kind of do a better job together? There are some theories there, just a theory, that you could work through and say, I wonder if this would work to help simplify our schedule and still provide a very good, robust celebration of the Christ during December.
Man, I love how idealistic you are with this.
It's not idealistic.
It sounds
I've done
so
it.
good.
I've done it. I'm telling you, I've done it.
Well, I get you were asking a rhetorical question, but I will answer it anyway. Because churches compete with each other.
They are competing.
That's why.
That's the
and
issue.
Even when pastors say we're not competing, many times you are.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. I think that we should be more strategic about that. We have a church that does something called a walk through Bethlehem. It's actually a smaller church in our community. And I wouldn't even consider, even though we have a lot more money than they do and could probably pull it off too, I would not even and it's very popular. I wouldn't consider doing it. Why? Because they're already doing it and they do it well. And I do tell my people, if you want to be involved in something like that, you need to go over there and help them because it's a very good thing. And some of our people do. They go over and they help. I wish more churches would do that. Yes. But unfortunately, and this is honestly where I think some of the smaller churches feel threatened, and I can understand why. I think it's a legitimate feeling that they have, because a lot of times when people say that, it's like, well, what you're saying is everyone should just go to the bigger church and just do that thing.
No, of course not.
And I know that's not what you're saying, and that's not what I'm saying either. But I think when it comes down to, well, we're gonna, a lot of times the bigger churches tend to overtake that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the bigger churches should be sending their people to some of the smaller churches, but they don't.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to add is, if you are listening and you're one of the larger churches in the community, this gets going best when you lead out. Go ahead and say, hey, you guys have a great, I'm just trying to use something, carol night, that you do a Christmas concert. It's really great. We're going to cancel ours this year. And we're going to actually, in our bulletin, in our newsletter, in our mail outs, it's going to say carol concert at the other church across town. And here's their address and the time. And then our event is this time. You don't have to send anybody to our event, but we are going to send people. So, hey, just prep, because you're probably going to get another 150 people or so at your event there. It's very, I know the churches feel like if I do that, I'm going to lose membership. I don't think you are. In fact, I would argue the opposite. If you own it and say it loud and proud, you don't lose anybody, because they're just like, oh, okay. Now, you do have to discourage the whole idea of like church shopping and like, I'm going to get a little bit from this one, I'm going to this youth group, that small group. Don't do that. But that's not what I'm talking about. There are certain seasons of the year, I think Easter, VBS, and Christmas are those seasons of the year where we could work together for the good of other people and the glory of God best together.
I agree. One last thing before we land this plane. Christmas Eve is a Sunday. What are you doing this year?
Christmas Eve service. Yes, because Sunday services are always on the table. Yeah, I think that's a great point, Sam. You bring this up because we always have our annual debate on the validity of Christmas Eve extravaganza paloozas. And here's what I would say. When you go ahead and make some established ideas and some established rules, as always, make exceptions. And so there are years where you're going to say, our church doesn't do Christmas Eve services because we want our staff to be with their family on Christmas Eve, unless that's on Sunday, because it's still the high value of weekly gathering with the saints. So I think just don't be so rigid. Don't be the kind of person that just like, we always or we never. That's going to get you in a lot of trouble. It's going to make you more busy.
You know what I'm doing? You know what we're doing?
A Christmas Eve extravapalooza.
We are doing all of our normal morning services
Uh-huh.
and three across two campuses, 3 extra Christmas Eve services.
I love it. I love it. It's going to be good. It's going to be exciting. And
You know
people
what I'm
should
counting
go.
on? I'm actually counting on it being our highest attended. It very well may be, and I know there's a lot of double counts, and so I just have to be careful saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. It may be our highest attended Sunday in the history of the church. And I think for a lot of churches, it has that potential. This year has that potential. If you do your normal morning services and a separate Christmas Eve service, and you combine the two, that could be potentially an extremely large Sunday for you. That's not the only reason to do it, of course, but it does get me excited.
Yeah, yeah.
And it goes back, for us, it's fun. So it goes back to that original idea of this is strategic for us. We don't have another Christmas production that we're doing. We're all in for Christmas Eve. That's what we do. And since All In for Christmas Eve falls on a Sunday this year, I'm like, this is the day. This is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. And we will all show up on Christmas Eve. It's going to be wonderful.
It's going to be huge. I also want to say, look, make sure that you're redeeming these things. Don't be just super busy and you look up and you've done 30 events that mainly cater to longtime Christians. Some of the things need to invite outsiders. Some of the things need to be baby steps. Some of the things need to be edifying and not just entertaining. And make sure that you have some sort of follow-up pattern afterwards. If you're inviting the lost and following up with them afterwards, and you're mixing in a little bit of this is just kind of us and we like it, more power to you. I love you. Do great. But if it's all just this is us and we like it, you're wasting a phenomenal opportunity.
You know what's a huge opportunity?
Upward Sports.
You got that right. Upward Sports. And let me tell you, this is the time of year to be thinking about it. I know it's busy season in December, but now is the time to be making those plans for next year. And you need to consider recreation ministry. You especially need to consider Upward Sports. They are the best at what they do. I'm very, very grateful that they sponsor our podcast. But I would even be more grateful if you contacted them because they can help you reach your community. So this is more than just, hey, we got a bunch of sports fanatics at our church and they would enjoy this. That's true. And you need to connect with the sports fans in your church, and Upward can help you do that. But what they're really going to help you do is use sports as a bridge into the community. We hear it all the time. How do I reach my community? How do I get into the neighborhood? How do I get to know my neighbors? This is how. And Upward Sports can help you. They are the world's largest Christian youth sports organization. They come alongside any size church, whether you have a gym or not. They can help you. They will help you make the connections with your neighbors so that the gospel can be shared and lives can be changed. So how do you contact them? Upward.org/church answers. Again, upward.org/church answers. Churches need to be doing recreation ministry. This is the way to do it. You got to contact Upward Sports.
Yes, it's going to help, and it can help you reach your community. Sam, Merry Christmas to you now that it's December and past Thanksgiving, and it is now legally allowed to say Merry Christmas.
I am with you. Let's outlaw this whole Christmas thing until after Thanksgiving.
That's right. Make it special. Don't cheapen it. Don't get knockoff pre-Thanksgiving Christmas stuff going. So Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas to our listeners. And why don't you, in the spirit of Christmas, bless one of the pastors or ministers you know by letting them know about EST. I'm not sure it's going to bless them, but it will bless us. Thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you next week.
Upward Sports equips churches to run self-sustaining sports ministries in their communities. Whether you're a sports fanatic or on staff at a church, Upward Sports will give you all the tools you need to run a first-class sports ministry that allows you to reach families in your community. Upward Sports offers basketball, soccer, flag football, cheerleading, volleyball, baseball, and softball through league and camp offerings. At Upward Sports, we want to help your church make a difference and give you increased opportunities to share the gospel. Learn more today at upward.org/church answers.